Hello YouTube. A while back I made a video discussing maintenance on this Ryobi backpack blower. This resolved a bogging issue at wide open throttle. I found questions and comments from that video and figured now is a good time to address them. It's been 2 years since I did maintenance, so let's get started. The easiest replacement is the air filter. The cover is removed by pressing the tab up top. Not ideal, but you could theoretically clean and reuse this filter several times. Eventually the material will clog or rip, at which point you need to replace it. Next is the fuel filter. These tend to gum up every year or two if you use gas containing ethanol. Most of my problems with this blower were caused by this filter. It has a metal weight at the bottom, which prevents it from floating around. Removal is tricky, so be patient. The ideal tool is a long hook of some sort, which I do not have. I simply use a long metal rod to drag it out. Pull out the old filter and insert the new one, which is a different shape. You can move the retaining spring with pliers to secure it. The last of the big three is a spark plug. The axis cover is secured with a single T25 Torx screw. This same bit removes the majority of fasteners on this blower. As a homeowner, you likely misplaced this wrench. If so, use a 19mm thin-walled socket. If it's hard to crack loose, slip a pipe over for more leverage. Lefty-loosey, righty-tighty. New spark plugs should be ready to use, but you can double-check the gap. Spec is 0.25 inches, and I am using a simple Walmart gauge. FYI, I have never had to adjust spark plug gap on any small engine. When you reinstall the new plug, don't cross-thread it into the aluminum. Start the plug counterclockwise until the threads catch. Then tighten clockwise as normal. If you can't spin it in most of the way by hand, something is wrong. The removal wrench also helps with applying the proper tightening torque. If you don't have it, good and tight is sufficient. No need to overdo it. Again, if you strip aluminum, you are going to have a bad day. At this point, test the blower. If it works, you're done. If it's not running that well, try spraying some carb cleaner into the intake hole. You may have to remove the entire carb for a deeper clean, which I will show later. For other problems, you may need to take the blower apart. Start by removing the bottom 3 screws. A magnetic pickup tool prevents them from falling inside. Lift the main unit up and out to separate it from the frame. If you tend to lose fasteners, just re-screw them back in until it's time to reassemble. The top cover is held in by several screws which are visually obvious. After removing the gas tank, you will have more clearance to remove this last screw. Use your phone camera or a Sharpie to document anything that may help with reassembly later. It's easy to forget what goes where. Remove the leaves and debris from the unit. You can repair the recoil if the rope or handle snapped. It's pretty common on small engines. This one is fine, so I will leave it alone. The manual says to replace the muffler and spark screen every 50 hours. These 2 screws are recessed, so without a long thin handle, you can't reach it. There is a mount on the bottom that also can't be removed without additional disassembly. The muffler looks welded shut without a removable spark screen. Those usually cause performance issues when they get clogged. They purposely make removal hard so you don't go around tampering with this. The muffler is discontinued and can't be bought online. I have not hit 50 hours yet, but wonder if the machine is considered end of life by then. If you want to remove the carb, it's simply held in with 2 long screws. It comes out along with the air filter housing. On the carb itself, these small screws appear to be Phillips head, but are actually JIS. If you don't use the right screwdriver, it will strip easily. I am replacing the purge bulb as they don't seem to last more than a couple years. It's simply clamped down with 4 screws. Be careful with the internals of this carb. I cannot find individual spare parts without buying the entire assembly. For that reason, I decided not to dunk this into my ultrasonic cleaner for fear of damaging the gaskets. The carburetor is a Volbro YWJ537. Going by the spec sheet, there are several adjustments available. The idle is tuned by a brass D-shaped screw up top. Documentation also shows a metering lever which adjusts the fuel delivery at various speeds. This tuning will introduce more variables. I wouldn't mess with it unless you have exhausted all other troubleshooting options. Reassembly is simply the reverse. I am replacing the carb gasket since the old one was beat up. If you can find it, consider replacing the circular seal on the intake side. It appears to prevent the oil leaks you see here. Before I reinstall the housing cover, I prepare wiring for the hour meter. Simply wrap and zip tie it around the spark plug wire. It's better to do this now as you won't have much clearance later. Except for the hour meter, I spent a little over $30 total on the replacement parts seen in this video. Even though this blower is still sold at Home Depot, parts are often sold out on the Ryobi parts portal. Therefore, you have to scavenge around if you need things quick. I found that spark plugs are cheaper when bought locally. A 2-pack of fuel filters was $9 on Amazon. Finally, a kit containing the carb gasket, air filter, and purge bulb was $19 on eBay. As always, you may get counterfeit parts, but I have not noticed any difference in performance. Check the video description for more details. There are no oil changes on 2-cycle engines. The fuel has the oil mixed in. I have exclusively used ethanol shield with 93 gas for 4 years. Pre-mixed ethanol-free fuel is simply too expensive, so I mix my own. Believe it or not, this blower typically starts within 2 or 3 pulls. It's no better or worse than any other gas equipment I own. I can't speak for everyone else because many people do not maintain their equipment. Keep in mind you can try everything I mentioned and it still might not work. There are many more parts to small engines that I could not cover. This is not a pro mechanic channel. However, the items discussed in this video are a good starting point. This is likely the last time you will see this blower on my channel as I hand it off to my family. That's why you saw me replacing everything, even if it looked fine. I recently bought the Steel BR600. Both machines cannot be fairly compared, since they differ significantly in price, performance, and ergonomics. For homeowners looking to make this same upgrade, the most obvious improvement will be ergonomics. Professional blowers are made to run daily, non-stop, for commercial use. The power to weight ratio is better, and the tube has better flexibility in all directions. Of course, there are more differences, but these are the most notable. I hope this video helped someone today. If so, please like and subscribe, and see you all next time.